Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CineFix Top 100, a show where I normally script this intro, but this is such a special episode, I decided not to. I'm Clint Gage. With me, as always, no job titles needed this time. Alex Stedman, Michael Calabro, guys.
Hello,
Clint.
hello.
How we doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
We're doing great. I'm gonna speak for all three of us.
Yeah.
We're wrapping up our stay here in Sundance. I've had a good time this week.
Yeah. I am excited to get back, but I think I'm going to miss this little mountain town, you know?
Yeah,
It's nice. Tranquil.
it's hard to remember that we're here for work.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, or it was earlier in the week. I think the crushing reality of we're here for work really set in the last couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
But
Today's a work day.
yeah,
This is the culmination of that.
yeah. This is the bill that's come due for having fun the first 4 days. But we want to do a quick little special episode just to talk about the movies that we've seen here a little bit, because we've seen some good stuff. And it's a fun thing about Sundance and film festivals in general is there's a sense that like we might not ever see these movies again. Because most movies that come here they're not sold yet. Like some are already sold and they have release dates already and all that stuff. But then there's some movies that, they got to get here and they gotta put on a good show to get distribution.
Yeah. I remember watching like the sales stories come in and never being so invested in them as I am now, having
Yeah.
been here. Because like, I'll talk about like My Old Ass later, but I saw that was bought and I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to be able to talk about this again. And it's not going to be me and 2 screenings of people who have seen it.
Right. Like I get to use the phrase "my old ass" in
You
a
know,
business environment.
I wonder if that title's going to hurt or help it.
I think it's gonna help.
I think it
it's
will
got to,
because it's,
right?
yeah.
I think that is the other funny thing to talk about too, like how some of these movies are so weird. Which Sasquatch Sunset being one of my favorites that I'll talk more about later. Like you think about how Bleecker Street's putting it out. It's like how in the hell are they going to market this movie? Like in terms of is what's going to help and hurt sell it and get people to go see it and all that good stuff. Like I don't know. It's bizarre, but
But I will say it's extra fun. Most of these movies also don't have trailers yet.
right.
So going into all these movies, most of them, with absolutely no idea what to expect and being surprised most of the time.
Most of them don't even have a poster. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
it's
have
just
one image that
one
we use for every
official
story.
image. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're even fighting over who gets to use the Freaky Tales
Yeah,
image
the
from their
one
story.
Pedro
Yeah,
Pascal.
the
thumbnail.
one Pedro Pascal burning the money. But yeah, just to talk more about Sundance in general, like that. I mean, number one, there's the idea of these being special events and movies that maybe will get a release, maybe they won't, maybe they will, and no one will care. Also, like that's the other, because there's a phenomenon that I like to think of as being Sundance drunk, where like you see a movie and you absolutely like walk out of the movie going like, oh my god, that's
It's the Sundance Glow. It's a real thing.
yeah. But then you wait a couple of days and you realize you haven't thought about that movie again, and you sober up a little bit. But
I feel like we all just want to have seen like the Little Miss Sunshine or the Big Sick or the Babadook of the year. Not every movie can be that.
no. And also going in completely fresh is such an unusual experience now. So like, because at minimum you get, who directed the movie, who's starring in it, about all the things, when they shot, you saw some photos, there's a trailer, by the time you see the movie, like you've seen clips, it's hard to go in fresh to movies now.
The media onslaught, which we're still unclear how Bleecker Street is going to do it for Sasquatch Sunset.
And, people like these IGN folks that like to talk about it's their whole job to tell people about what movies are going to be.
Yeah.
Ruining it for everybody. So let's do that right now.
I know, because like I'm kind of conflicted because some of these movies I love them so much because I'm like I knew nothing about that. Yeah.
And then now I'm sitting here going like, should I just cut around that part so I don't look like an asshole?
Nah, it's
We
Nah,
won't
it's
spoil too
fine.
much. We'll just say what we like.
So here's what I want to talk about though. Like this being the CineFix Top 100. Let's talk about movies in the sense of like, could they potentially be Top 100 worthy? Like, obviously that's a big ask out of movies, but like, we can think about it in those terms just because that's the title of our podcast. Alex, what's a movie that you have just really enjoyed here?
To answer your question, I don't know if any of the ones I've seen are like top 100 worthy, but there's a lot of great ones.
Yeah.
I'm kind of waffling on my favorite. Like I said, I really liked My Old Ass. Love Lies Bleeding was another one. It's one of those ones that had a trailer, so it's not like I went into it completely blind. I kind of went into it with
Well,
a
and that one's got
certain
a release date that's
yeah,
coming
it's
up,
soon.
right?
And it's kind of what I expected in a way. I think it's being marketed as a very much like a almost a lesbian Bonnie and Clyde. And there is part of that in the movie, but it kind of takes a different turn, which I don't want to spoil. But it's great. Everyone's a little psycho. Everyone's like not that great of a person. It's very, very violent, very gory. Katie O'Brien's fantastic. Oh my god. Like I need to see her in more. She's such a little psycho. It might be my favorite Kristen Stewart, actually.
Really?
She kind of plays like
Bigger than Twilight?
I thought she was
Breaking Dawn Part 2?
yeah. No, but she like plays this
Spencer?
like the one she's definitely a little weird in some ways, but she plays kind of like the POV character who kind of just gets like wrapped up in it, and she's really good at that. It's just the whole thing is shot so dark and gritty that you're kind of in this vibe the whole time.
Well, and the director,
Rose
Rose
Glass,
Glass,
yeah.
Saint Maud, which I think was her debut, was
Yeah.
just a really cool, vibey.
Well, and it's a
It's
lot.
that like it's not quite a horror, but like where else are you gonna put it?
I guess you would call it like a thriller. It's very tense. It's very stressful. I described it as just being a mean little movie, and it's very
Yeah.
just a mean, violent,
This is
sexy.
Love Lies Bleeding.
Yeah, yeah. But I liked it. I dug it. It's not going to be for everyone, but you kind of go into it knowing what you're getting. I really liked that one.
Yeah, A24 hopes it's at least for some people.
I think it'll do pretty well. I mean, the trailer did well, and the trailer's pretty much what you get.
So, longtime fans of CineFix may or may not remember the superhero and training show that we did years ago.
What was that?
We did.
Is this a long-winded anecdote?
I'm gonna try and keep it as short as possible, but it was a show where we went and hired a personal trainer to get us into superhero shape. I mean, it was like a 12-week program or whatever. But the trainer that we worked with there, is the guy that trained Katie O'Brien. So Katie O'Brien's,
Shut up.
she's all over Instagram being like, "Thanks to Steve Zim for getting my muscles popping for this."
That's one of the things that I love about Love Lies Bleeding too, is she is this super jacked, super huge woman, and she's like very much the sexual object of the movie, which could be a bad thing, but they just glorify her muscles and her body the entire movie. That is the most desirable thing. And I think that's like there's something really special about that. We don't get that a lot with muscular women. But she also is a complete psycho, and I love that about her. She is just nuts.
No, I'm looking forward to that one. It was one that I wanted to try and see. I couldn't work it in.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the buzzier ones.
Cal, what about you?
You know, movie that really stuck around was Richard Linklater's Hitman.
That's been getting a lot of buzz.
Sad that it's going to be on Netflix. Theater experience was a lot of fun.
It is, like, visually speaking, it's not a movie that needs a big
Yeah.
screen necessarily, but it was so much fun watching that with a bunch of people.
Yeah, the crowd reactions were great.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, it's a movie about Glenn Powell,
That's the actor's
the
name.
handsome dude that gets held back in Top Gun 2, right?
Yeah, Glenn Powell.
Yeah, Glenn
Yeah.
Powell.
Yeah.
You know, he plays a philosophy teacher, adjunct professor, who moonlights as a undercover cop who isn't actually a cop, but somehow he's just trying to get people to entrap themselves into hiring a contract killer
Yeah.
who he pretends to be. And it's a great story about how, he talks all these people into giving him money to murder their spouses,
Yeah.
loved ones, etc., problem people in their lives. And it's a lot of fun. And it's a really good meditation on identity and meaning and what we do with our time.
Yeah, and what you choose to be becoming who you are. There's a whole conversation in there somewhere where if you just decide to be somebody else and you sort of brute force your way into being that person, at some point you become that person.
I was going to say that sounds sweeter than I thought it was going to be, but it is Linklater.
It's a sweet movie. It's very fun. It's got a hard edge to it in there somewhere, but he's just this guy that is basically accidentally pretending to be a hitman in these sting operations, and he winds up being really good at it. And kind of starts taking a little pride in it, and he's putting forth like creative effort.
To tailoring the hitman for you.
And then he gets embroiled in this whole other plot. It's great. Been using his psychology and sort of philosophy background to be like, which hitman do you need?
Let me just Facebook stalk you for a minute to just try and figure out what kind of hitman you'd like.
So it's like something like it's like about identity, kind of.
It's a real Linklater movie, which is like bro philosopher. It's very clearly the guy who made Waking Life, right? There's scenes in this film where it's Glenn Powell at a whiteboard in a university talking about the differences between the ego, the id, and the superego. And then it's juxtaposed against him trying to con people into murdering whoever they need to murder.
Yeah.
And what makes this movie so much fun, especially in the beginning, is just all the montages. From the moment he decides to continue to do this, and it's like now we got to show everybody how good he is at it. So it's just montage of just like this guy's getting arrested, this guy's getting arrested, this guy's getting arrested, and just ton of really tightly edited, tightly scripted exchanges between just a bunch of random people. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's got that energy too. Of it's Glenn Powell's character narrates it
Yeah.
from like a really kind of funny, safe space. So that like stakes wise, you're never really concerned about any. You are a
It
little
keeps
bit.
it like fairly light. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does, and it's a blast.
Yeah, and then it gets pulpy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets pulpy in a really hilarious and also kind of stakes free way, which is it's funny, which is in itself is one of you like sometimes you see these choices. It kind of I'm thinking about now is the end of this is it could not be a more different movie, I think, but the end of Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, where everybody
Go on.
where everybody just shows up and they're like happy go lucky. Hey, everything worked out fine. High five. See you later.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre and so unrealistic and there's a little bit of that energy, but it matches the whole front half of the movie. So it's
God,
not-
now that we're talking about it, Nicolas Cage in Hitman.
Sure.
If this was made with him,
Oh, I thought you were saying he was in Hitman.
No.
I was like, I didn't know that.
No, but he could do this because like now all I'm thinking about is smoke my lucky crack pipe.
Right. Right.
And there could definitely be quick scenes of like you need him killed. Well, first we got to smoke the crack pipe.
I think it is a wildly different version of Hitman with
Oh, yeah.
Nicolas Cage, but
But I like seeing Glenn Powell do stuff. Like he's very much an up and comer, I would say.
this is
Yeah.
going to do really, really great things for him.
This is his star-making performance.
Yeah. And you mentioned it was fun to see with the crowd. Love Lies Bleeding was the same. Like it's just getting everyone's reaction to like the gross, nasty stuff.
To your point, I don't think there was any movie that I've seen at Sundance so far I was like, you know what? I actually wish I was just watching this alone.
Oh,
on
it's
my couch.
so much better with the crowd. Like every comedy I've seen, everything that has anything gross in it. We even talked about with the Babadook, seeing it with people for the first time. Like,
Yeah, and I mean everybody here is just primed to love movies.
Yep.
You don't
Yeah.
show up here unless you're excited about watching movies. So
that's
even
a really good point.
who knows if the theater experience will ever match what it is here, but we'll do more for you than watching it on Netflix on your laptop in bed.
You know what? I'm going to just drop in here a Clint tip that probably applies. If you are a movie nerd and you do ski, going to Park City on a skiing vacation is actually a great time to go because you could just go skiing all day. The town isn't that packed, and at night there's a ton of awesome screenings.
Well, we went and had breakfast this morning, and on the way back, we realized it's like what, maybe the best time to go skiing in Park City
Mhm.
is the
Right
second
now.
weekend of Sundance.
Yeah.
Because the town, like most of the industry folks, are gone,
by Wednesday.
and there's still screenings happening, and there's still some Sundance in the air here for sure. But also, it's not super crowded. Show up Friday night of the second weekend of Sundance, and then ski all week. Like I'm gonna do that one of these days.
There's also like 2 feet of powder here.
Yeah, when they stop letting us come back for work, I'm just gonna do it as a vacation. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, if you ever get the chance to come to Sundance, like you do it. It's a lot of fun.
So Clint, what movie you
Hey, thanks for the segue. You saw me get lost trying to figure out how to segue to myself. The one movie that I absolutely have to talk about, and we'll go around the circle again while I'll talk about another one, but the one that I absolutely have to talk about is Sasquatch Sunset. I'm so enamored with this movie. And talking about the Sundance Glow, being Sundance drunk on a movie, I waited 2 days. I tried to get you guys to talk me out.
You're never gonna get me to
of-
talk you out of it.
Yeah, I was just like,
I
here's I gave it a 10 on IGN.
love that movie, man.
It's
You gotta love
so
it.
bizarre and so absurd. It's a movie about a family of Sasquatches and just them living their life for a year. There's no dialogue, obviously. They grunt their way and gesture their way through everything. Like they're this primitive sort of missing link type. When they're mad at each other, and it's just them eating plants and arguing and getting horny and
pissing and throwing shit.
shitting and like the way that on paper it is just the most bizarre movie that should not exist, but it does exist. And what's incredible about it is that it's funny.
Oh, it's hilarious.
It's raunchy and goofy, and there's a scene. I don't even want to talk because I'm not going to talk about anything specific that they do because honestly, the surprising part of this movie is one of the best things about it.
I think going into it, just accepting the fact that dick humor and poop and piss is
It's funny.
it's just so primally funny.
Yeah.
Don't pretend that you're not above it.
Right. You're right. Because that's a great thing that the movie does is the movie is not above it. And the way that the camera moves and the way it's photographed, it's a gorgeously shot film also. But for every shit joke that's in there, for every dick and fart joke that they make, it turns on a dime and treats these characters. They're not just animals or whatever. They're character because they all have their individual characteristics. They're all very distinct.
By the way, it's like Jesse Eisenberg.
It's Jesse
and Riley
Eisenberg,
Keough,
Riley Keough. Yeah, I mean, they got a good cast, and they cover them with honestly great
Excellent makeup.
Sasquatch prosthetics. The eyes are very expressive. Like, it's incredible makeup. For every time that they do, they just scream at each other and shit on the ground to prove a point. They turn on a dime, and they have these moments of genuine empathy, and there's tragedy that they deal with. And one of the things I said in my review is, like, Riley Keough's character, she kind of makes a habit out of scratching her crotch and smelling it, and that is a method of communication for her later on too. But then, like, she'll do that, but also she's a mother that just wants to take care of her kids, and she's scared, and she's discovering things that freak her out existentially. There's a lot of humanity in a movie about Sasquatches, and they're always treated with respect and dignity and empathy in a way that I found just very fascinating. And we talked a little bit about it about the Babadook as well. When a premise starts out as something that maybe you don't take seriously off the jump, and then for it to work, like this movie, more than the Babadook certainly, starts out in a hole, right? I'm gonna watch a fucking movie about Sasquatch for a year. Okay, whatever. And then even the first act starts. It's really goofy, and it's really they eat the wrong berries and trip out for a minute, and it's pretty basic stuff.
It kind of opens with a sex scene.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, not too much of a spoiler there, but
Right. That'll happen quick. And so for it to be elevated so thoroughly it gets bonus points. It's all the more impressive.
God,
So
I wish I saw that one.
I cannot. In fact, I feel bad about gushing about Sasquatch Sunset this much, because it needs to sneak up on you a little bit, and I'm ruining that right now.
Well, we
because,
should. It will, like, everyone listening to it will be able to see it. 'Cause
Yeah.
it does have a distributor.
yeah, don't worry.
Bleecker
Don't-
Street bought it before it even got here.
Yeah.
So it's premiering here. Like, it's already got distribution. But this is another one that I'm going to be very fascinated to see how they market it. Like, what are they going to do with this movie to get people in the door? I think the trailers, it's going to lean into the goofy stuff.
definitely.
Like, it's going to lean into the comedy aspect of it, and all of that empathy, all of that tragedy, and all of the avant-garde art house stuff. That's going to sneak up on people in a way that I hope people actually respond to, because it's incredible what the movie does. It's experimental cinema too. It's a big experiment, and everybody from the DP to the cast to the directors, obviously, are so thoroughly committed to this bit, to making this family of Sasquatch feel relatable. Which, by the way, Sasquatch is. I don't think I was consistent
I
with
think
it in
both
my
are
written
correct.
review.
Yeah.
I think I just alternated back and forth, but
I like Sasquatches.
I like Sasquatch.
I like it too. I like Sasquatch
Yeah, see,
Like
as a plural.
Yeah.
but the problem is there
A
might
murder of Sasquatch.
now. See, that's better.
We're getting
A
there.
murder
Yeah,
of
I'll
Slowly
go,
talking you
I'll
into
go
it.
with a murder of Sasquatch. When I hear Sasquatch, it's just like one, right? You only ever think of Sasquatches
Yeah.
as
You got to put a little qualifier in it.
and
A murder of Sasquatch, or this
Yeah.
family of Sasquatch.
family of Sasquatch sounds nice. What tribe?
Gaggle,
Yeah, ooh,
Ooh, a gaggle of Sasquatch.
where you do the elephants version. A memory of Sasquatch.
that's
Wait,
better. There it is.
That's what you call a bunch of elephants?
Yeah, a memory of elephants.
Okay.
Because a murder is crows, right? Right. It's a murder
Yeah.
of crows. I like a memory of elephant. I like a memory of
Pluralisms
Sasquatch.
are
That
so much
sounds nicer, and
I-
elephants are
fun.
smart.
I
too,
got
so.
There's a book that we got for our kids that's all about the plurals of them. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, go see this singular movie about a plural of Sasquatch
10 out of 10
as
according
soon
to
as
Chris Gage.
as soon as it comes out. I'm telling you, it is, because you shouldn't dock a movie points for being in a specific genre, right?
No,
Like,
I
it's
think yeah.
it is a masterpiece of experimental cinema. I think it is so good.
Damn, I really want to see that one. I'll get the chance.
Yeah, and I can't wait to talk about it afterwards. Where you're gonna be like, "What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?"
All I've heard is your
Yeah,
take
exactly.
on it. I
I
really
have
haven't heard that much
ruined
about
this
it too.
movie now
Yeah.
for everybody listening to this. What else did you see, Alex?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, so I'll talk about it now. My Old Ass really surprised me. It's produced by Margot Robbie's production company, Lucky Chap. And it's Aubrey Plaza, and Maisie Stella is her name, and she's kind of a newcomer. And it's about this 18-year-old who trips shrooms on her 18th birthday. And it's like the summer before college, and she gets a visit from her older self, which is Aubrey Plaza. It's not super innovative. The concept, basically her older self is just spend more time with your family. They're really cool and you don't treat them well enough. And also like stay away from this guy named Chad, which is perfect.
You'll meet a guy named Chad.
No. But like, and I don't want to spoil too much, but the movie works because
He's
the guy
named Chad. I think that says
Wait,
it all.
his name is Chad, and also he's the most goofy, lovable character, and he's just a Chad. And it's like, why are we supposed to hate him? It like adds this extra level of intrigue. And I feel like it wouldn't work if the main character was too much of a brat, because she's very much kind of that like sardonic, very funny, but she's
Aubrey Plaza plays the older sister.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So she's
So
trying to play.
You kind of get the idea.
Yeah.
And they don't have like much of a physical resemblance, but their mannerisms are very similar, so you kind of don't notice it. But the main character is really endearing, really funny. Like she's trying her best. She's still kind of a brat, but like you can relate to her, you root for her. It's really, really funny. There are a couple lines that just I lost it. But when it hits emotionally, it just hits. At a certain point, I looked around and realized it was like me and a bunch of other like 30-something women, and we were just like we were just doing like the chorus of sniffles.
That's great. Yeah.
I was walking out of the theater and we were just like, that was so sweet. Like my heart, like it's one of those movies. I feel like the other two movies I'm going to talk about are a little meaner and more cynical. This is the complete other end of the spectrum where it's just like, oh, like we're all just trying our best. And I think it's maybe some of the best acting that I've seen from Aubrey Plaza.
She keeps getting better.
She keeps getting better.
Since post Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
she is just everything that she does, she's better.
And I feel like for a while she was kind of typecast.
That might be the wrong way to put it too. Like I think she's getting more to do.
Well, and the cool thing about my old ass is like she gets to do that kind of dry humor thing because again, she's the older version of this very clever, funny teenager. But she has this world weariness about her where she's like also trying her best because she's talking to her younger self who doesn't know any better, and she's like, just like, please try your best. Life is so hard. And it also kind of plays with this idea, is age wisdom, stuff like that. It takes a very simple premise and makes it very affecting. My only thing was it's a little rushed. There's a couple really good side characters that just don't get any time to shine, but small complaint. I loved it. Also a great use of Justin Bieber's One Less Lonely Girl. Great scene.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, Bieber needs a win. I'm glad they worked that out.
Well, I read that they actually they like had to get Bieber's blessing for it.
Bieber himself. It wasn't just like the label.
No, Bieber himself was like, yeah, you can use One Less Lonely Girl in this way. But it's nice. It's kind of like when we talk about Sundance movies, it kind of falls in like the Little Miss Sunshine camp of just like a nice little movie that makes you feel kind of good.
There's a little bit of every genre here.
There really is.
Which is nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of docs, a lot of comedies.
Yeah. It is a good year for documentaries here.
Great year.
I saw a handful that were really good.
I saw Superman, and that was good.
Yeah.
Is this a doc segment?
It can be.
It can be.
Did we accidentally transition into
We
a
might have.
documentary
Want to
segment?
just do like a lightning doc segment?
Yeah,
I didn't
go
mean
for
to.
it.
All right.
You start us off, Cal.
All right. So I'm going to talk real quick about one. We want to talk about a Sundance movie that might be lost to time. Realm of Satan is definitely
Satanist ASMR.
is definitely one of those, right? This movie is basically it's a film that's supposed to be kind of like a slice of life of a bunch of Satanists. The thing is that there's no real dialogue, and it's basically just like living portraits, immaculately composed shots of people just like doing something and like living their lives. But that's all you get, and you just watch it. And then there's
It's even weird to think about it as a documentary.
yeah.
Like, I mean, it's completely nonfiction, but it is also.
Oh, it's extremely staged. When we talked to the director,
does
he
seem
was
very
just like, "Yeah, me and my
staged.
DP would take hours to set up a shot." And I mean, these shots are beautiful. Whether it's the shot of the Satanist who goes full makeup, paints his face white and black mouth and stuff like that, wears that every day. Watching him hang his laundry outside with the Star Wars blankets,
That shot is incredible.
it's so good. And then there's a 6-minute oneer at a BDSM porno shoot that is just absolutely wild.
Yeah, that one was something else. You were like, Clint, get over here right now.
Yeah.
Just look at this.
Just
It was
watch
like,
this.
whoa. Yeah, what was it? So we interviewed the guy. And,
Something's
and
happening.
What was it that he said about that? He wanted the only color in the frame because it's all black.
It's all black, white. It's all
Yeah.
desaturated.
He's like, the only color on frame that I wanted was genitalia.
genitals. Yeah,
It
genitals.
was just like the people's genitals is the only color in the whole
And that
frame.
is the only color.
Yeah, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
nailed it. They did
Yeah.
it right. Yeah, that one's wild.
That's like the one that may be lost.
Yeah, because where does that go?
Yeah.
Who's gonna pick that up?
I
and,
can't
like-
explain to my friends how you should watch this movie.
right.
But a lot of the docs I feel like have been picked up. Like the one I saw, Superman, which I did like, that got picked. Yeah, the Christopher Reeves one. Yeah. I never considered myself much of a Christopher Reeve gal. I like those old Richard Donner movies fine. But I was really young when he had his accident because I was born in 92. The accident happened, I think, in like 95. And then he died in, I want to say like 2005, something like that. Yeah. So I just don't remember all that well. But watching the documentary, his family went through the ringer and they have such access to like his sons and daughter. What really got me though is there's a lot of Robin Williams in it, and I never realized how close they were. But like a lot of the time, I cried at least thrice in that documentary, and I think two of them were because of Robin Williams. There was some sad stuff.
Did Netflix buy that doc?
No, that's Warner Brothers.
That's Warner.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, it'll be on Max.
Yeah.
That's a Max shoot.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the buzzier ones too, because I think was it like opening night movie or something? Superman.
This is how Sundance gets into the superhero genre.
Yeah, Sundance is
Well,
making
there's
their
a
tentpole play.
lot of fun background about the making of the first Superman and finding Superman. They talked to everyone. They talked to all the producers. So it's if you are and again, I enjoyed it not being a big Christopher Reeve person. If you are a big Christopher Reeve person, you're gonna love it. It'll make you cry a bunch though.
Heads up for that.
Yeah. Clint, what's your doc?
The first movie that I saw when we got here that week was Devo
Oh,
from Chris Smith, the filmmaker behind American Movie, and he did Tiger King, and he's a name in documentary filmmakers. But it's his movie about Devo, and for better or worse, Devo's legacy, I think, largely is Whip It. Right, that's all anybody knows.
That's all I knew.
Yeah, and same. Like
Yeah.
I think I'd listened to one of their records a little bit, but not. I never knew what they were or who they. And it's all about the origins of the band. And I think two of the band members were at the Kent State Massacre. They were there during those protests when, and that was a very formative moment for them as artists and as a band. And so it just follows the development of them sort of fighting back against. And Devo, the name, is another thing that I honestly I didn't know is a reference to de-evolution, which is just the idea that we are gradually getting
Devolving?
dumber and more violent and more, and it's going to happen regardless. But a lot of what they represented early on was, pushing back against consumerism and capitalism and everything, and then getting into the system with their records and the labels and the early days of MTV and then they sort of became the thing that they were fighting against for so many years, and they just kind of crapped out after that. Which is so it's an interesting movie, and they've got a lot of they interview two of the members of the band have passed, but they interview Mark Mothersbaugh and two of the other guys, and just watching their transition from like visual artists like Andy Warhol kind of catch all just art, like whatever medium
capital A art.
Yeah, whatever medium I need to do this art, I will. Like that's kind of how they started, and which weirdly enough is why they were so big on MTV in the early days. It was a content play
Because they're visual.
because they had
That makes total sense.
they had short films and they had music videos before music videos were a thing because that was the type of artist that they were. And so when MTV showed up, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, check out our back catalog." It's and they were huge on MTV for that first year. And then as soon as MTV got successful and they were nationwide, they ran into the same problems that record labels ran into, or that Devo ran into with record labels, where they were like, "Well, you're not on the charts, so I can't do anything with it." So it's weird. It's a really interesting story.
Now I kind of want to see it.
Talk about the editing. I know we talked about that.
The editing in the movie is really good. It's very paced up, right? It's a very quickly cut film, and there's a ton of B-roll. They do interviews that were shot specifically for it, but then there's just a ton of interviews of them on talk shows and everything like that. But also just random stuff, like random movies and random. I mean, like we would do for a video on CineFix, like find the image that perfectly illustrates what's being said on screen. And so it's a really well edited.
Superman was a lot like that too. It's kind of crazy. They would be talking about how he was scared when he was in the hospital of like cords coming undone, and then they would find the perfect clip from him in Rear Window where like that was happening to they were just very clever with what movie clips they used and whatnot.
No, it's a really great piece of editing. But that was the first movie that I saw when we got here.
Really?
That got me kicked off this week.
Nice.
So
Started on a good note.
what other doc? The other doc that I saw was Eternal You.
Oh yeah.
which is all about AI. There's companies, the digital immortality is what they're selling. Companies as small as like $5 a month gets you so many chats with your dead relative. You can like it's like text-based chat stuff, on up to virtual reality reconstructions of this woman's daughter and her reuniting with her and being able to say goodbye. It's stuff like that, and just the weighing everything about the commodifying of talking to
Snake
your
oil.
of AI and
Mhm.
talking to your dead relatives.
AI immortality. Snake oil.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's truly bizarre. The film, we got to talk to those filmmakers too, and there's some interesting guys. They raised a lot of interesting questions, and I got the feeling I pressed them on it a little bit, and I don't know that they agreed with me, but I felt like they, as many questions as they raised with the movie, I felt like it was the tip of the iceberg. Like I
Oh
think there's
yeah.
so much more to talk about. But just in dealing with like how we mourn and how there's a whole thing in the movie about cemeteries being very impersonal, where as opposed to an AI reconstruction, like if I could just text with my somebody that just recently passed, as a way to mourn, and like how healthy or unhealthy is it for us to just never let go of people. And
Mhm.
it's a thing that's entirely possible.
I think that we watched a movie this week that touched on that a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I went to see, it was Eternal You. The order that I watched them in: Eternal You, Babadook, and then I watched another movie, Handling the Undead, that I mentioned earlier, which is a zombie movie about some weird electrical phenomenon in Sweden that brings the recently dead back to life. So
Oh,
there's
so
like
that's like
it was
all
like a
very
weird
thematically,
triptych
yeah.
of, yeah, all very different movies, but dealing with mostly the same thing. So
Yeah. I also saw another AI based one. I didn't love it, but it was Love Me, that one with
yeah.
Kristen Stewart and Steven Yeun. That was a big A. I feel like there's a bit of an AI theme this year.
Well, I remember reading about that movie beforehand, because it's my, I keep leaning into the idea of festival bullshit
And it's
as
a satellite and a buoy
a
fall in love
satellite
at the
and
end
a
of the
smart
world.
buoy falling in love. It's like, that is some festival
Yep,
bullshit. Like,
that's
I'm here
Sundance,
for it.
baby.
It's
Yeah.
Sundance, baby.
No, but yeah, I thought that one was okay. But it's like fun. You don't usually get to see a movie about a buoy and a satellite falling in
No,
love.
it's hard to find those movies actually.
Yeah.
Cal, you and I saw one, another documentary. Since we're still doing a documentary
No.
lightning round,
Talking about Skywalker.
talking
here?
about Skywalkers.
Skywalkers, a love story.
Yeah,
Just got picked up, by the way.
Yeah,
Netflix.
unfortunately,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
should have a
we
theatrical release.
yeah
Yeah.
we had a long talk of like AMC should just take part of the money that they took that they made from that Taylor Swift concert, buy this, and just put this in a theater. I saw a lot of movies in that theater, and I am assuming that they don't change the temperature of that theater. Yet I was sweating in this Skywalkers documentary, because this is a documentary about two people who climb rooftops to just literally for the gram. So like, they're climbing spires of 100-story buildings and doing like, cuz
1,000 feet in the air.
that more than that maybe,
Yeah.
right? Like, and like the woman was raised in a circus, so she's like an acrobat standing on her head doing like acrobat stuff,
That's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah.
and like they have all this GoPro footage, and it's incredible. The footage that they have is incredible.
Yeah, the guy that introed the movie, the programmer, was like, just a heads up, if you have a thing about heights, here's your trigger warning. Like,
Yeah.
because I mean, and GoPros are such wide angle lenses anyway, and they'll have one strapped to their chest while they're climbing, and the guy will turn around and talk to the girl, and he'll turn just a little bit, just a couple degrees. He'll be like, "Huh?" asking over his shoulder, and just that much movement from the camera on his chest tips you out over the edge of this massive building, and it's just sky and terrifying. And they're up there in their like jeans and t-shirt and tennis shoes, just like climbing up there, and
Does it
it's
ever
wild.
I don't that might be a spoiler to ask. If it like does it ever get like dicey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
illegal what they do. They have to break into the
Right.
place.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like part love story, part Ocean's 11, part Free Solo, part like it's
The third act is very much set up like a heist.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wait, that's
it's
awesome.
it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at the beginning of the movie, I joked, I was like, well, we should have sat in the front row for this. And then 10 minutes into the movie, I was like, I'm glad we're at the back of the
Yeah.
theater. Like, I don't think I can handle the front row. But yeah, it is one that it's a drag that Netflix got it. Like, I'm
Maybe there'll
glad
be a
people will be able to
theatrical.
see it,
Yeah.
but
The footage is just nuts.
yeah.
It's basically like if Free Solo and Man on Wire had a baby with Fire of Love. It's a nice love story, But
Yeah, the heart of the movie is a lot about, them sort of meeting each other in the middle. Like she decided never to trust anybody again, and she was only ever going to stand on her own 2 feet. And then he always rooftopped because it was just his thing. And then all of a sudden he cares about somebody and he doesn't really know how to deal with it. And like, so that's all, like you could script that,
Mhm.
like there's a nice way to kind of look at.
it's a nice through line to get
You're
through this.
doing these impossible things become possible if you have somebody with you that you trust and care about, like, and them learning to kind of accept that, and that's all great. That's not why somebody bought the movie, though.
It's a very cromulent through line for some truly awesome B-roll.
It's 100% enough
Yeah.
to hang the rest of the
Yeah.
movie on. It's solid enough to hang part caper, part roller coaster.
Part love story,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but just incredible B-roll.
So just get a really big TV
Yeah.
and sit right in
Sit
front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lay down
close
on
as you can
lay
get.
down on your back underneath the TV
Yeah.
and watch it.
Make a pillow for it if you need.
Yeah.
No, maybe you should just lay on your stomach and then have the TV below you.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
exactly.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. Stand on a ladder and watch it. Yeah. No, but my palms were sweating in like the whole movie.
Yeah. No,
What else do we want to talk about? There's a couple other buzzy. Alex, you and I went to see Freaky Tales.
Yes. Neither
is-
of us were that crazy
No,
about
no,
it.
it's kind of a bigger. I mean, it was Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, who are kind of Sundance veterans, on top of being, they made Captain Marvel, the first Captain Marvel, the one that made $1 billion.
Yes.
And Pedro Pascal is in it.
Ben
What is-
Mendelsohn.
what is,
what is Pedro Pascal's name in that movie, Clint?
Oh, his name is Clint.
Oh yeah.
Cal actually, he was actually there to witness me getting Pascal'd.
Yeah,
this
oh, yeah.
week.
It was incredible.
And I just can't believe his name is Clint.
His
It's
name's
not a
actually
very
Clint.
common name.
And the first time we
Uh,
meet him on screen,
he's
like,
just
his
like, "Hey, it's
back is to
Clint."
the camera, and he's like, "Hey, it's Clint."
We were just laughing and nobody knew why.
Yeah.
No, it's got Normani in her. She's like a big singer from Fifth Harmony. It's her film debut, I think.
And Dominique Thorne, who plays Riri
Yes.
Williams,
Yeah.
in the MCU. It's chock
Um,
full of MCU folks.
Angus Cloud's unfortunately last
Yeah.
role. There's a good cameo that I don't want to spoil. It's not a secret. It's out there.
Yeah,
but
he's on the IMDb page.
but it
I'm like,
really played as a
why?
secret. Like like I didn't know before we
Yeah.
saw it. So don't seek that out.
I mean, and the movie's solid enough, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's
It's
a
fun.
Good, there are some legitimately really fun
Yeah.
moments in it. There really are, because it takes place in 1987 in Oakland, and there's a lot of very pulpy sort of influences on it, all the way from like 8-bit sort of animated VHS.
The animated
tracking
parts
and,
really
like,
kind of I liked those.
yeah,
those were
and
fun.
then there's some punks versus Nazis stuff that's happened that's a lot of fun, and then Pascal is in there doing his best Western tropey kind
He's
of.
doing his best, Clint.
He's doing his
Doing his
best.
best.
Clint. Doing
He's
some
great in it,
Clint.
actually.
No,
Yeah.
he's good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he's doing that. I mean, there's a reason why he's the internet's favorite daddy, right? Like,
Mhm.
How many fictional Clints are there?
it's him and Hawkeye,
Yeah.
Hawkeye. Yeah.
Clint Barton, and Clint Eastwood is totally fake. So
Yeah. I mean,
that's it.
We made him up.
Yeah, no, and Marty McFly and Back to the Future 3. It's just those three.
It's I had fun. Like
I did
I'm
too.
not mad that I saw it. I was thoroughly entertained the whole time.
And the thing about Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, so there are other films like Half Nelson is
Yeah.
I think really great.
I also
And
like that.
Mississippi Grind was really
yeah,
good.
Mississippi Grind is a fun
Um,
time.
I just don't think they're genre directors.
Yeah, because I
'Cause
mean,
this-
we were talking about like Captain Marvel, which was fine. It did
All
the job.
pieces you need are there.
Yep, and it
They're
didn't.
even put in the right place. They're just put there like a little bit slowly and a little bit stiffly, and the artifice of the whole thing is kind of too front and center. And so I've never really invested in. There's a moment in Captain Marvel where she and Nick Fury are like in the cockpit of a plane, and one of them says a joke, and they both laugh, and it's so wooden and so.
It's like
not,
this is funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
and I was like,
this is a joke
and
we've
I
done.
got some of that vibes in this too. It feels like a Tarantino clone. Like it wants to be Pulp Fiction, but it's just not quite cool enough. It's cool.
Just
Mhm.
not enough.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very stylish. It's cool to
Yes.
look at. It's funny too because that was one of the ones where we had a Q&A with
Yeah.
the directors afterwards. They had a few funny things to say about like how they didn't get there's the Warriors are a big part of
Yeah,
it.
because it takes place in Oakland, and the
Yeah.
Golden State Warriors play a huge part in it. In a Kill Bill style.
Yeah.
Like,
And they
it's
did not
pretty-
get permission from the NBA to use
Yeah.
Warrior. So when you watch it, like you'll notice it just says Warrior on certain things.
instead of
like-
Warriors.
yeah. I feel like you would really enjoy it if you were like from Oakland, especially in the 80s,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
and it's a fun era, like
it's
to
fun.
set a movie in. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Is that one bought? Did somebody buy that?
I don't think anyone did yet.
Somebody's going to.
The sales have been a little slow. Like
Yeah.
they've been coming in today and yesterday. So I feel like someone's bound to, though,
Yeah.
with that kind of starry lineup.
Put Clint's face on something.
Yep.
I mean Pedro's face on something.
It's got the
I
same hair
we
and
gotta
everything.
keep getting it out there so I can keep getting that in the comment section.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was fine. Cal, did you see anything else that you loved?
Yeah, I saw this coming of age movie called Dee Dee.
Oh yeah,
That was excellent. You know, it's just about this like Taiwanese American kid living out his last year of middle school, and you know, it's a fun movie if you grew up in the 2000s. He's a little younger than me, where like a big part of that movie has something to do with MySpace, and MySpace kind of came around when I was like a senior in high school, so like I kind of missed that part. Just missed it. But watching his anxiety edit AOL instant messages, that's been a universal thing since like the mid 90s.
Yeah, every platform's got that.
Since instant messaging was invented, writing something, backspacing half of it.
I mean, the
Yeah.
Apple bubble, like I'm typing thing, there's a million versions of that. Just
Yeah.
watching that.
Right. Yeah, the AOL Instant Messenger when you can tell somebody.
Oh
was
yeah,
doing
like so and so
that
is
was-
typing. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah. I
So-
used to put have a Word doc standing by that I would type
That's
it into, and
psychotic.
then I would paste it. Yeah. Well, because
was
it's a
playing the
real,
game.
it's a very real thing.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody to know that I'm choosing my words this carefully. Like,
Want to be this vulnerable?
yeah. No, I'm scared of all of this.
Yeah. But Dee Dee, I've heard a lot about. Dee Dee won some awards too.
Yeah, I won the audience award.
Yeah.
It's real fun.
Yeah.
You know, just like an 8th grade dirtbag skater rat kid just hanging out with his friends.
Yeah.
It feels very
Mhm.
like lived in, and it's extreme. Like we were talking about, you said you like unique relationships that still feel universally relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm a white guy from Pennsylvania. What the fuck do I know about the accuracy of Asian American households in Fremont, California in the turn of the century? I don't know dick about that. But what I can say is like I grew up a shitty skate rat. I remember what it was like to be on AOL Instant Messenger at that time. Totally relate to that. Totally relate to the family. It's effortlessly relatable, laugh out loud funny, and really tugs at the heartstrings. It's a very, very good coming of age movie. And it's weird to think that the time that we grew up in is now
A period piece.
yeah,
you
it's
can
now
make,
it's now the reflection period for that, which is fuck.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Welcome to almost middle age.
Well, even like watching not a Sundance movie, but even watching Saltburn, I was like, oh, this is a period piece about where I grew. Oh no.
There's
oh,
a
oh, no.
there's a really hilarious scene in Dee Dee where his friends steal his phone to like text the girl he likes.
Oh no.
But it's a flip phone, and it is very much plays up the how much time it takes for you to use the number pad to type out a word message.
Yeah.
Which
oh,
is
that's funny.
You
Yeah.
know, like that only existed for like maybe like 9 years, right? Because like the iPhone was invented in 2007.
So I graduated college in 04, and at my graduation ceremony, I was so bored, and I was talking to somebody who's like, "Oh, I was just texting my brother the whole time," and I literally was like, "What do you mean texting?" Like it wasn't even a thing that I had bothered to learn because I wasn't about to start typing with the fucking numeric keypad on my phone. Like on
No,
my,
it's a pain.
it wasn't even a Razor yet. Like Razors came out the next year. So
the worst, the
Yeah.
absolute worst. But the movie, excellent. That was a great movie that I really, really liked. And Ibelin.
Ibelin?
Ibelin?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
another documentary.
Ibelin, Ibelin, and it's about a kid who died of a degenerative neuromuscular disease, and it's a documentary, and it starts out with camcordered footage from like the late 80s like through the 90s of this kid just, you know, literally degenerating. Like there's great shots of him as like a little kid walking around, but the older he gets, the weaker he gets, and just can't like live his life. And his parents, they feel bad about that, and the kid gets really into video games, right? So like that's how he spends his time, and eventually, you know, he's just totally in a wheelchair, and like the way he controls the computer is through very custom IO devices and like a bomb almost. But he gets like really into World of Warcraft. The first half, like the first third of the movie, like Act 1 is like telling his whole story through the perspective of his parents and the camcorder footage they have of him as like a kid. And you see this real sad life, you know? And then they get into the gaming element. Like they get into the gaming element of it. Basically, he had a blog, and when they like the family posted on the blog that he died, they started getting all of these messages from all the people that he gamed with, and the parents then subsequently learn that he had a really rich online life with a ton of friends in World of Warcraft.
Wait, that's actually sounds so. I didn't know that's what it was
it,
about.
it gets so much better, right?
That sounds so sweet.
So the way that World of Warcraft works is that they have logs of all of his text messages and emotes and stuff like that in game. They say there was like 42,000 pages of archived conversations and interactions with him in people in World of Warcraft. So then the rest of the movie is showing his relationships with his friends from World of Warcraft and how he touched their lives, and they got animators to recreate these scenes in World of Warcraft, and then they just like custom hand animate them in the World of Warcraft world, and got voice actors to just do voice reads of all of the dialogue that they were typing out in their interactions. And it's super touching, and it's a beautiful movie. And that, if I don't want to like take it down a peg by saying like this is a movie you don't need to see in a theater, but like this is going to Netflix. Get this out there.
Well, it's not about like the visuals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is gonna so incredibly tug at your heartstrings, and it's such a touching story, and it's just like it's a really great story that, you know, just reminds us that like digital lives matter. Like not like digital lives have meaning too, right? You can have friends that you have never been in the same room. Like this movie does a really good job of being like these people never met ever, because you know he just couldn't do anything, right? So it's like, but these people's lives were so profoundly touched by this kid, and they never were in the same room ever, and it's just like impressive and very heartfelt how close like online only relationships can be and how meaningful they can be.
I feel like we haven't tread that ground enough in movies because it's kind of a new concept, right? Like it's uh, it's really like the past 10 years people have been going on Discord and playing like video games with their friends. Like growing up, I remember I was on neopets.com and I had lifelong friends on there.
Yeah.
Like it's a real thing.
Yeah, I mean the idea that a relationship has to be in person to be real is nonsense. And I think, you know, as younger people now get older and, you know, appreciate that, like it's you know, old people like me that are like, oh yeah, that's I mean yeah, but that's just World of Warcraft or whatever,
Yeah.
which is not me, by the way. Let me clarify that. But
There's actually there's a really good story that our coworker Rebecca Valentine did about actually a group of retirees who play World of Warcraft together, and that's
Oh,
how
that's
they
great.
bond. It's super sweet.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, again, it's just more of those online friendships.
Yeah.
They're very valid.
So that was
I didn't know it was about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I want to
that's
see that.
it's so good. It's really touching. I haven't stopped thinking
Did
about
people
it.
cry? It sounds
Oh,
like
yeah.
a crier.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why like you don't need it in the theater, but it also might actually be better at home anyway if you want to
Yeah.
just sit in the comfort of
You just
your
wanna
own
cry?
home where you can vulnerably engage with something like this.
So the
It's probably better off.
the dad was in the Q&A, and one of his like requests was like, you know, this is the kind, like I just hope this movie makes like parents and children like watch it together downstairs, so like the kids can spend time with the parents, but then the parents can also learn that the time the kids are spending like in the internet and on video games may not be as bad as they initially thought. You
Mhm.
know,
Like they have friends to turn to every night. Like that's something that a lot of people didn't have growing up.
What else we got?
I'll switch gears a lot and talk about A Different Man because I saw that one last night and I reviewed it this morning, so it's like kind of been on my mind a lot. It's Sebastian Stan, and he plays this man who has a physical deformity, like I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but he has like a lot of tumors on his face.
Yeah.
And in his mind, that's what's holding him back. That's what's ruining his life. It's the fact that everyone looks at him and sees, like, in his mind, this monster. And he does this experimental drug trial and, like, literally sheds his skin. It's really gnarly and gross, and it's awesome. The prosthetics are incredible. And it rids him of his deformity, and he becomes Sebastian Stan, like a
Yeah.
handsome dude.
Right.
But the big twist comes in when this guy played by Adam Pearson, who you remembered, Clint, was in Under the Skin.
Yeah. Yeah, I recognize him right away.
Yeah, and the actor actually does have the same deformity that Sebastian Stan's character did. And he waltzed in and he has so much charm, so much confidence. He has this like comically endless list of talents and hobbies. He's just the most likable guy.
Yeah.
Everyone loves him. He has the world wrapped around his fingers. And you just have like Sebastian Stan's character like, what the hell? Like, what you're telling me that was not the thing holding me back?
Yeah.
And it
You're
becomes
telling me
this.
it was my fault
Yeah,
somehow?
yeah, like
Oh,
I'm
no.
just like I'm just a dick. It wasn't the deformity at all. So like it becomes this kind of like he gets really obsessed, and it's there's a lot of like cruel irony to it. It's a very cynical little movie. It's very mean. It's very like at times hard to watch, but also very funny at times. Like Adam Pearson is so funny just in how like effortless everything is to him. And he plays it so well. There's also a lot of really interesting questions about, because also at the center of this, without spoiling too much, there's a play that a friend of Sebastian Stan's character wrote about him before he cured himself of his condition. And it raises a lot of interesting questions about like exploitation versus representation, and like when is it okay, when is it not, and doesn't answer any of them. It's just like, nope, we're just gonna put this out there and you can decide if like this is good or bad or not. It's very unpredictable. It's a ride. It takes a little bit to get where it's going because the Adam Pearson character doesn't come in until like 45 minutes in. And that's where it becomes the movie that I like a lot. But I was sitting with it and I was like, I don't know how I feel because like at first it was kind of a slog, but then it got going, and when it was going, it was going. But I really like it on further thought. Like
Nice.
it's one that I keep thinking about and it keeps coming back to me. So it's not for everyone. It's a little tragic, mean little joke of a movie, but it's good.
That's good. Yeah.
hmm
We
And
need a-
Sebastian Stan keeps doing interesting stuff with his career. Like
yeah, what was the one where he was like a weird serial killer?
Fresh,
Yeah.
which I liked.
That
yeah.
that one was, I had no idea what that movie was going to be
Yeah.
when I watched it. But.
And he's really like he kind of like takes this like almost like hunchback slump when he's in the beginning of the movie, and then he becomes Sebastian Stan, and he like he changes himself. But no, he's great in it. Him and Adam Pearson just knock it out of the park.
That's great.
Yeah.
You talking about play, and that reminded me of another movie that I saw this week that I really enjoyed. It's called Ghostlight, and it's about a construction worker and his family who are dealing with a really tough tragedy, and he somehow stumbles into, not somehow, it makes perfect sense on screen, but he stumbles into a community theater production of Romeo and Juliet. And it's just, and it's so sweet and earnest, and it's just the sort of the healing power of community black box theater in a way. And it was starring an actual family. So the family that's going through the tragedy is a husband, wife, and their daughter. And it was a real life husband, wife, and daughter that played the parts. And you can really tell, like it comes across in all the tiny little moments that they're comfortable enough with each other that you would have to work with an actor for a year to have that level of familiarity and to get that level of trust to kind of these were more filmmakers that we interviewed, and it was funny because they said things like, they would just be like sniping at each other on the screen, and then like the mother would say, "Hey, Catherine, stop that," and we'd be like, "No, Catherine, actually keep doing that, but." And then call her Daisy when you say it again, like the character's name instead of her real life name. But like, so it was just parents and a kid, and being on set together doing this movie about parents and a kid dealing with this crazy tragedy. But the other interesting thing about the movie is it recontextualizes Romeo and Juliet in an interesting way. It's like from the perspective of a parent, because
Interesting.
through another series of events, the main character, who's an older guy, ends up playing Romeo, and it's so saying his lines from the perspective of a parent going through a tragedy gives it a completely different emotional context than any because most of the time when you see a Shakespeare adaptation, it's Baz Luhrmann doing some bizarre visual flair
Star-crossed
to it,
lovers,
or
yeah.
put it in a different set, like we'll set it in space, but now it's still Hamlet, and it's like, well,
The Lion King too.
or
Also
even
Romeo and Juliet.
exactly, or even the one that the Coen brothers did, the Tragedy of Macbeth, a
Oh,
year or
yeah.
two ago, it was just like, no, we're gonna do Shakespeare, but we're gonna do it like with some semi-experimental photography, and like that's the only thing. But this was a completely different emotional perspective on the work, which is something that I hadn't seen before. So it was good. I hope it gets picked up. I'm not sure if it has yet or not, but I hope it gets up and out there. It gave me Coda vibes.
Well, I will say, like, we were talking about how we've just been talking to people. Ghostlight's been one that a couple people
Yeah.
have like told me, like, yeah,
It's
seek that one out.
hard to sit in front of that movie and not be charmed by it.
Yeah,
It's great.
I think there's a lot of like movies about plays this year because Your Monster, which I also saw and liked, also has a play plays a big part in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I went into
Plays
that.
and AI.
What?
Plays and AI. 2024 at
Yeah.
Sundance.
The stage and technology.
Yeah.
But no, Your Monster was one that I walked into expecting the Babadook, and it was not the Babadook. It was like a silly rom
Like Little
com.
Monsters.
Yeah, it was like the silly, but it charmed me because I was going in expecting to be scared, and it was actually like really funny and
Nice.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, little rom com.
We got anything else? I feel like we saw. I mean,
We saw a lot.
we
Like,
saw a ton.
it's weird seeing that many movies in that short amount of time because
Yeah.
they like kind of blend together a little
Well, and
bit.
that's how you know the ones that stick out are the
Yeah.
ones that are really worth talking
Like the
about.
ones
But,
that I didn't like, I don't even feel the need to talk about because I just like pushed
Yeah.
them to the back of my mind.
I mean, it's fun spending a week watching 15 movies or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's been a blast year. So again, if you know, if this can be a PSA for taking a trip to Park City, second weekend. If you're just coming for the skiing, so if you're a film fan who also skis, the second weekend of Sundance is maybe the best. That's
And
my
if you're
guess.
going to the Redstone, leave yourself like an hour and a half to get there.
Yeah, just don't.
Yeah, just
Honestly,
avoid that.
Yeah.
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 But I think that's gonna do it for us. Like
Yeah.
that was we saw a bunch of fun movies, and hopefully most of the ones that we talked about you're gonna get to see at some point.
Should we force ourselves to pick a favorite?
No.
No.
That's cruel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems.
And but if we do want to be cruel, what are the misses? What are the ones that you can
Oh.
avoid?
I did not like Crazy House.
I could take or leave Veni Vidi Vici.
Yeah. Handling the Undead was good. It was a very slow burn zombie movie. It's based on and he wrote the screenplay too. But it's the guy that wrote Let the Right One In. John Ajvide Lindqvist is they call him the Swedish Stephen King, I think is what his. But it was very slow, and I don't know that I need to go back there. It might be great, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode.
Yeah.
I hope we succeeded in making everybody super jealous of us being here at Sundance, as was Calabro's goal with this. But thank you for listening to the CineFix Top 100 Special Dispatch from Sundance.
It's
Please
fun.
email our bosses to let them know that you listened to this.
Yeah. Honestly, like we'll take the listen, but also
Yeah.
go ahead and
Leave a nice comment that you value this.
maybe we'll put the company write an actual letter.
Say this was my favorite episode of CineFix so far.
There's a PO box in the description of this podcast. Yeah. But that's gonna do it for us. We gotta wrap some stuff up and pack our bags and head home. But thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.